So now she's going to define distance learning. And you thought it was the internet, but no, listen to this.
We use that term because it is more open and broad. It can include not just online platforms, but it can mean that we are working in telephone, conferencing in some ways, or.
So, wow, the Tulsa public school, the Oklahoma public schools have moved all the way up to telephone conferencing. Whoa, maybe they'll get cassette recorders.
Lessons being delivered. We've seen one state that's ahead of us in this particular pandemic.
This particular pandemic, as opposed to all the other pandemics. Now, she's talking about lessons being delivered because we're going to deliver some of them by mail. Pony Express, I'm sure, is in there. And then here's this other state that's way ahead of us, and here's what they do.
Lessons being delivered. We've seen one state that's ahead of us in this particular pandemic, and they are actually delivering lessons with the meals on bus routes.
Wow. So the bus driver will not only drive the bus, but he'll deliver the lesson and the meal. What do you need a school for if you got a bus driver? Oh, my goodness me. That is some amazing, amazing stuff. So now here we're more with distance learning from Joy Hoffmeister during the Oklahoma Chainsaw Manicure, where the context is what I say it is on Radio Free 3D with Tommy McCay. It goes like this.
OETA, public broadcasting here in Oklahoma.
She's defining what is distance learning. And most people think, oh, yeah, the internet, like epic charter schools and virtual learning over the internet. But the Oklahoma public schools are all the way up to not only telephone conferencing, delivering food and lessons by bus, but this one.
OETA, public broadcasting here in Oklahoma. And we're working with their office and our curriculum and instruction office. They're willing to clear some of their programming, daytime programming, and putting up some lessons.
You got to ask yourself, why wouldn't they be putting up some lessons, before the crisis? Why are we planning during the crisis? Why hasn't public broadcasting been already in conjunction with working with for the last 40 years, public schools in Oklahoma to put together a system for this type of emergency, or just to validate our expenditure on OETA otherwise? Here is more about the OETA partnership.
And programming that's grade specific, subject specific, that's already available, and then coordinating that with teachers.
So a dirty little secret that nobody knows because they're not telling you is that the people that Joy Hoffmeister would not allow a waiver due to a technical difficulty in translating the money. She is gaining help on putting together these systems of distance learning from Epic Charter Schools. People from Epic Charter Schools are helping the Oklahoma State Board of Education and Joy Hoffmeister put together a plan that will facilitate the distance learning. Here's more on distance learning.
So if they have a TV antenna and a TV, they are going to be able to have some structure and very specific to finishing the year with the Oklahoma academic standards. So that's another example of what we mean with distance learning.
So another example of what Joy Hoffmeister means by distance learning is watching television. I mean, that's literally what she said. If you have a television antenna and a TV, you're going to have some structure. And she believes that if you didn't have a television and her commanding OETA to deliver these, messages of instruction, then the poor children, after they ate their lunch and breakfast from the bus driver, they'd run amok with no structure in their life. I mean, what will happen if the public school leaves my children in their car when they run into the Quick Trip? And she goes on to talk about what the board will allow. Now, she was online with over 200 people, 540 districts, and she's talking about what these district leaders want to do. And then she goes into they need to know what the board will allow. And that's my context, not hers. She doesn't use the word allow, but here's what she says.
They want to learn from each other. They want to also understand what the board will be entertaining tomorrow with.
Now, she's talking about, Hoffmeister is talking the day before she meets with the state board to ask to close the schools. And the districts are waiting, and she says, to find out what the board will entertain, she says. And what that means is what the board will allow the districts to do, she goes on to say.
In regard to some other red tape and various laws that are in place that need to be lifted.
So what will the state Board of Education entertain or allow to lift, again, more waivers and these regulations and restrictions? Again, suddenly the restrictions are in the way of the tyrants instead of the capitalists. She goes on to say.
So we're following suit with the feds.
Oh, no, what? Oh, I'm sorry. What did the Oklahoma State Superintendent of Public Schools say?
So we're following suit with the feds.
So we're
following suit with the feds.
So we're following suit with the feds. So Joy Hoffmeister says she's following suit with the feds. Thank you, KFAQ, for allowing her to lay out her rope on public airwaves. So the state is following the feds. That's what she just said. She goes on to say.
The U.S. Department of Education has been very swift to provide waivers from federal regulations in this time of, a national declared emergency.
Isn't it amazing how the public school in 10 or 12 days can get all these waivers from the feds when the capitalists, even the FDA, you'll notice on the coronavirus, what's in the way of fixing the coronavirus? The FDA. The continually you hear that they have to remove restrictions from people doing things. We've got to get government restrictions out of the way. Government restrictions out of the way. We've got to get the FDA clearance sooner to do more faster. She goes on to say.
But those are some of the details that schools are thinking about. What we are wanting them to do is shift their focus to learning.
Now look at here. We're all the way to finally shifting our focus to learning. We've fed them. We've brought them television programs on PBS. We've delivered food on, Pony Express and lessons on the bus. And we're going to be right back with more 3D Politics on Radio Free 3D with Tommy McCay. I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience, never before has a comedic event this big hit the Tulsa market.
An offer so big it can only be held at 69th and Lewis.
You may have wanted to pay $60, $70, $80, $90, even $100 more.
Just for the size of the giant, obnoxious party guest joke warehouse sale. Jokes and gags for all occasions.
More jokes than you can shake a rubber chicken at.
We sell our jokes by the truckload.
Loaded with drinking jokes.
Tired of lethargic jokes.
Up to our buttocks and derriere jokes.
Wall-to-wall novelties and adult toys.
Real savings on fake doo-doo.
What's next in line at the joke warehouse?
Up and coming vomit jokes.
Guaranteed to gag.
So come on down to
the giant obnoxious party guest joke warehouse sale.